Okay, so we have the interest rate risk. We have inflation risk. We also have.
So we have the Sharpe ratio, we have the Sortino ratio, and we have the risk-adjusted return on capital.
That is correct for 3 points. Kumasi High School. Businesses face both financial and non-financial risks, okay? So you have to give me 3 main types of financial risks. 3 main types of financial risks.
Market risks, credit risks, and liquidity risks.
Correct for 3 points. Now yours. Who said it? You. There's nothing like inflation risks when we talk about, what do we call it? The risks affect. You mentioned inflation and you mentioned currency risk, okay? Can you differentiate between the two? Thank you. So, next set of questions. Wesley girls, according to Section 33 of the Companies Act, members of a company are the subscribers of the company's documents of incorporation. Now, the Companies Act gives us several duties and rights of members of a company. You have to give me just 3 of the rights of members of a company. 3 rights.
To participate in.
You are not speaking into the microphone.
Is it correct? To sell their shares. To participate in general meetings, speak and vote before any resolutions before the meetings, and to participate in the company's profit by real.
You've mentioned 3, so yes, correct for 3 points. Clap for them. This is quarterfinals, right? Let me tone down small. Everybody, let's take a deep breath, all of us. And let's all calm down, okay? Presbyterian boys. There are 2 main types of meetings in our organization, okay? We have the annual general meeting and the emergency general meeting. Now, there are some decisions that can be taken only by resolution of members at a meeting. By resolution of members at the meeting. Give me 3 of such decisions or such. Yes, give me 3 of such decisions that can be taken by resolution.
Okay, so how the dividends are to be distributed, and then to appoint board of directors, and to remove and appoint directors and auditors.
I accept that. Correct for 3 points. Adonten, directors are persons, by whatever name called, who are appointed to direct and administer the business of a company. Now, Section 190 of the Companies Act sets out duties, not rights, of directors. Give me 3 of those duties of a director.
Okay. So one duty of a director is to oversee the activities of the manager. Also, another duty of the directors is to set down the rules of the company. Lastly, another duty of the board of directors or the directors is to oversee that members comply with the rules and regulations of the company and to protect the shareholders' rights.
So you've mentioned a lot of things, but none of them is in the Companies Act. So I'm not accepting that. Bonus. You don't like? Wesley girls.
To guide and oversee the activities of managers.
The microphone. They've given you one.
To guide and oversee the activities of managers, to provide capital to managers, and to elect and to report and be answerable to the shareholders. And
for a bonus, I'm not accepting that. Directors give money to managers. Okay, let's proceed. Kumasi High School. A company secretary is a senior position in corporate governance and is responsible for ensuring compliance with regulations and the government. Now, the Companies Act gives us some qualifications of company secretary. You have to give me 3 qualifications of a company secretary.
Oh, no, that one was chapter 4, chapter 3. So that table to...
The company secretary must be an experienced person and educated person.
And he should not
Limit the liabilities of parties or one of the parties in a contract. Exemption clauses may be contained in standard form contracts or individually drafted outside the contract. There are 4 types of exemption clauses. Okay, so each school is to give me an explain one of such exemption clauses. Wesley girls.
Please, the liability limiting clause. So it is a clause that limits the liabilities of members of the parties. It's when one party will agree to forgo some of the liabilities of a specific party.
I accept that. Correct for 3 points. You are still not using the microphone. You have a microphone, but you don't want to use it. Okay, Presec.
Okay, so we have the restrictive covenant, and this is a type of exemption clause that prevents an old employee of a company from disclosing the company's information to another company he or she intends to work in, and that is a competitor to the previous company he used to work in. An example is maybe an individual works in maybe MTN, and he or she has stopped working there and wants to work in Vodafone. But this exemption clause prevents the
Accept that. Correct for 3 points. Adonten.
So we have the litigation limiting clause. And for this clause, say 2 parties go to court for a matter. So over here, this clause expels that the liabilities, or it litigates the liabilities of the parties.
What do you mean by litigate the liability?
So
I accept that. Correct for 3 points. But what do you mean? Come again. Come. Hello. What is litigate the liability? You be saying things. Kumasi High School.
We have the implied term modifying clause. So this clause protects consumers against any action by a business.
Is that all you can say?
So the clause...
2 out of 3 for being able to give me implied term modifying clause. So this it seeks to exclude the operations of terms that would otherwise have been implied. For example, I've put in a word like Kumasi. So I'll exclude any other definition of Kumasi other than stated. Okay? So it restricts the definition of Kumasi. All right, next set of questions. Now, we know that investors are rational. And by rational, we mean they look at numbers. However, we have something called behavioral finance. And it tells us that investors rely on emotions rather than data to make informations. And so there are biases affecting financial decisions, right? Okay, so you are all to give me one kind of behavioral finance that affects investors. Are we good? Okay, Wesley girls.
Please, loss aversion. So it's where fear of losses prevents investors from investing in specific investment vehicles. So let's say when an investor fears to lose returns on certain investments, the investor might fear investing in shares since they are highly volatile.
I accept that for 3 points. Presbyterian boys.
Okay, so we have herd mentality. This is a type of behavioral financing whereby an individual is influenced by the actions or by the words of another individual by not making any research into the investment or the strategy he uses, but is influenced by another person.
That is correct for 3 points. Adonten.
Okay, so we have overconfidence. Because of your overconfidence, you go into higher risky investments, which
Okay, so here, due to the overconfidence of the individual, he or she ventures into higher riskier investments.
And the person ends up litigating the investment, right? Correct for 3 points.
We have anchoring. Anchoring. This is when investors will rely on only one piece of information rather than thinking about any form of alternatives.
That is correct for 3 points. Last set of questions for this round. Okay, let's finish on a good note. I'm going to give you 2 terms. You have to differentiate between those terms. Okay? Each of you have different terms, and so bonus is available. Wesley girls, differentiate between an alternate director and a substitute director.
An alternate director is a director who comes into the business for no more than 6 months, and whilst a substitute director is a director that he acts as a replacement of an original director who, in case of any traveling or any emergencies.
Okay, it's your main question, so I accept the definition for a substitute director, but an alternate director, no. Okay, so with alternate director, let's say the 2 of you are directors, but you, because of something, you cannot come, and so you appoint one person to act for you, but when you come, you resume your position. But with substitute, you are no more a director, and so this lady substitutes you. Okay, so that's the difference. All right, so I'll give you 2 for the substitute. Clap for them, clap for them, clap for them. Presbyterian boys, differentiate clearly between broad money supply and narrow money supply.
Okay, so when we talk about broad money supply, this is an operation or a monetary policy by the government of Ghana where it increases the money supply in an economy, whereas narrow money supply, it is a monetary policy by the Bank of Ghana where it constrains the spending and then the money in the hands of people.
I'm not accepting that. Bonus. Three. Who is? Yes, Adonten.
Okay, so when we talk about broad money supply, over here, when we talk about broad money supply, over here, policies are placed or policies are made in order to increase the money supply in an economy. But when we talk about the narrow money supply, over here, policies are put in place in order to reduce the money supply in an economy. So, say for the narrow money supply, it can be used to combat inflation.
-1. For the confidence alone, please clap for him. He has confidence. Wesley girls.
Please, narrow money supply involves all money in circulation, including coins and notes, while the broad money supply includes the narrow supply and all deposits inside the bank.
I accept that for a bonus point. So when you say narrow money, we are talking about all things cash, all things liquid money, okay? So the paper, the coins, and those things. When you say broad money, then we go a bit further. It includes the narrow money and cash deposits, treasury bills, those type of things, okay? But you tried. Okay. Adonten, differentiate between simple contract and specialty contract.
Okay, so when we talk about a simple contract, this is simply a contract which is being entered into by two parties. So over here, there is no seal. Here, there is no over here. They don't sign or it is not documented. But with the specialty contract, here it is under seal and it is being documented, which is signed by both parties.
Okay, so for simple contracts, okay, it can be oral, it can be written, and it can be implied. And so your definition that it is not written cannot be accepted. But I accept the definition for specialty contract. So 2 out of 3. Kumasi High School, Emrantie, calmly differentiates between mutual mistake and cross-purpose mistake.
Okay, for mutual mistake and cross-purpose mistake. For the mutual mistake, the mistake is done by both parties and there is different mistake about the same thing. And for cross-purpose mistake, the mistake is done by both parties and the mistake is different about the same thing.
Come again with the second definition. Please allow them, okay? It's not easy sitting there, please. Come again with the second one.
With a cross-purpose mistake, the mistake is done by both parties and it is different about the same thing.
And then the first one.
The mutual mistake, the mistake is done by both parties and it is the same.
What is the same?
They make the same mistake about it, the same thing.
Okay. So, your time is up. Now, the reason why he's struggling is because there's no difference between mutual and cross-purpose. They are all the same. That is why you gave the same definition. So, actually, 2 of them are the same. Then you define one, and we are good to go. So, there's no difference, okay? So, yes, so I'll give you 2 out of 3. And that brings us to the end of round 1. Let's clap for them. So you are welcome to the second quarterfinal contest. There are 2 slots available for the semi-final rounds. Will it be Wesley Girls? Will it be Presec? Will it be Adonten? Will it be Kumasi High? A lot of things are on stake here, and the seats are very hot. Even mine is hot. So as we await the scores, are my scores ready? Okay. All right. Okay, so at the end of round 1, the following are the results. In the order in which I have them. Wesley Girls, 19. Presec, 17. Adonten Senior High School, 14. And Kumasi High, 16. Okay. So we move on into round 2. There are some protests. I'll address them after round 2. Okay. Now in round 2, you'll be given some case study, very simple cases. You have to listen and give me answers to those cases, okay? All right, so I'll begin from Wesley Girls. Wesley Girls, a consulting firm in Accra invites young professionals to join what they call a private capital partnership. They explain that because it's a partnership and not a public investment, there's no need to be licensed by SEC to manage the funds. Their office books look professional, and they have provided brochures showing previous partnership returns. Your ask here for all the schools is to identify the red flag, and why is it a red flag? How do you solve this red flag?
Please, the red flag is that it is not licensed by the SEC. And it is a red flag because for a company to be able to trade, it has to be licensed by the SEC. And how to go about it is to research on the SEC's page if it is actually licensed by the SEC, and if it is not, you report to the SEC.
I accept that for 3 points. Presec.
Okay, so the red flag here is because the partnership company, because the partnership here thinks they are not registered by the SEC, they didn't go by the rules and listed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So one way of going by this red flag is the Securities and Exchange Commission must set regulations to control, must set regulations to ensure compliance.
Okay, thank you very much. Now your case, because I've not given you a case. I don't know which answer you are giving me. So your case. A logistics entrepreneur. No, this round, okay, I told you, you all be giving cases. So they asked their case. So I called you, Presec, for your attention, for me to read my case to you. And I wanted to listen to the end before I give you your question, okay? Okay, so your question. A logistics entrepreneur tells investors he has secured a special supply contract with a mining company, giving him guaranteed 25 to 35% every month. He insists the exact details are confidential due to non-disclosure agreements, and he cannot show proof of contract. And he claims that the returns are possible because he uses fast turnover commodity cycles unknown to the general public. Identify the red flag. Why is it a red flag? And how to solve this red flag.
Okay, so the red flag here is the returns on his investment, because 25 to 30% per month is said to be a Ponzi scheme. And a Ponzi scheme here is a fraudulent activity in investing in which a company promises an investor a higher returns than it is, like in which a company promises an investor a very high returns than it can pay. And the one way of solving it is the individual must check if the company is registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Okay, so yes, the red flag is unrealistic returns. Why it's a red flag is that it's too high, okay? So they didn't give any transparent variable, of course. But how to solve this is not to check. Of course, they can be listed, right? So how to solve this is to decline the investment unless they've given you documented proof of how that 25 to 35% will be generated. Okay, they can be listed, but they can be given those things, all right? So 2 out of 3. Adonten. A new green energy startup advertises heavily on LinkedIn, showcasing a team page with professional photos with no links to personal profiles. When a potential investor tries to check their backgrounds, the names produce no record, and the company claims the founders prefer privacy due to past corporate espionage attempts. The startup promises early investors access to future IPO allocations. Identify the red flag, why it's a red flag, how to solve this red flag.
Okay, so the red flag is anonymous promoters. And why it's a red flag is that we don't know the person who is advertising such a product. And also, And also,
Also, one way by which we can solve this is to report immediately to the police in order to avoid it.
Okay, so yes, red flag identified. Why it's a red flag identified? When I say how to solve it, give me direct how to solve this particular. What has the person done that you're going to report the person? Okay, so you have to do your due diligence. Check on the people. Request, identify. Probably it's true. I can be an investor, but I decide that they shouldn't put any link there. I'm in the house. Police is there. Why? Because somebody's looking for me. They can't find me. So that's not the correct solution in this case. Okay, 2 out of 3. Adonten, sorry, Kumasi High. A well-known lifestyle influencer promotes an investment platform on Instagram, claiming she personally made 80,000 in 2 months. She urges her followers to join her private WhatsApp group where she shares the exclusive details. Okay, participants are told that missing the deadline means losing your future access. What red flag can you identify? Why is it a red flag and how to solve
Because he's a celebrity. We are using the unregulated social media platforms because some of the social media platforms are unregulated and anonymous promoters because we don't know the person's name. And then the reason why it's a red flag is because it provides unrealistic returns. And how we can help curb this is by using the toll-free call for the Security and Exchange Commission, which is 0800 100 065, or you can research the credibility status of the individuals on the SEC.
Okay, so yes, but the red flag is social, as you said. The person is not unknown, so it's not unknown promoter because I said a well-known lifestyle influencer. Okay, all right, so correct for 3 points. Because he had the red flag correct. Why it's a red flag correct? How to solve it correct? Just that he was adding things that are not part of the answer. So yes, he gets the full marks. Next set of questions. Now, a textile company, which is a medium-sized export company, announces during their AGM that it has already signed a binding agreement to transfer all its warehouse assets to a foreign logistics company. Shareholders were not informed, okay, and the transactions was not presented to the board for a special resolution. Later, the board members discovered that the deal went through and it effectively changes the company's business model and reduces its assets by 60%. The question here is, what rights have been infringed upon? What rights of the shareholders have been infringed upon, and what remedy do the shareholders have?
So the rights of the shareholders that has been infringed upon is the rights of shareholders to participate and attend annual general money.
Okay. The right here is not the right to attend meetings. Okay? It is the right to approve fundamental corporate changes. It is not the right to attend meetings. It's not that they called a meeting and they didn't invite somebody. Okay? So the right here is the right to approve fundamental corporate changes. But I'll give you 2 for approve fundamental corporate changes. But I'll give you 2 for the remedy. So 2 out of 3. Okay, so audience, please minimize the noise for us. Presec, at Aquaba Foods Limited, the board announces that no dividends will be declared due to poor performance. However, 2 weeks later, major institutional investors reveal they received advance information suggesting dividend might be paid next quarter once a new financing deal is concluded. Minority shareholders were never given this material information, leaving them to make decisions in the dark. One shareholder, who is Efua, feels disadvantaged because he sold her shares at a low price based on the incomplete disclosure. What rights were infringed upon and what remedy is available?
So the infringement here is minority oppression, where the minority shareholder was not given due information about their shares, leading her to make decisions that were not accurate.
Two out of three. He didn't give me the remedy. 2 out of 3. Oh. Adonten. Now, a shareholder in a microfinance company finds a buyer for her shares and notifies the company as required. The board rejects the transfer, claiming external investors are not desirable at this stage, though the company's constitution contains no clause restricting share transfer. When she requests the written reasons for the refusal, the secretary merely says it's a board decision and refuses to process the transfer. Now, which rights were infringed upon and what remedies are available?
Okay, so Na's rights which were infringed upon was the rights for her to transfer her shares. Because under the Company Act, a shareholder has the right to transfer his or her shares as and when she wants. And the remedy over here is that Na can go to the court in order for the court to take action.
That is correct for 3 points. Kumasi High School. At Tech Nation GH Limited, a group of majority shareholders secretly petitioned the board to remove a director who has been questioning irregular procurement payments. Instead of calling a general meeting to allow all shareholders to vote as required by the Act, the board issues an internal memo stating the director has been relieved of duties for loss of confidence. The minority shareholders only hear about the removal weeks later. The board has replaced him with someone aligned with the majority bloc. This change shifts company control and buries the concerns and remove the the concerns the removed director raised. So, which rights have been infringed upon and what remedies are available?
Right to participate and vote on any resolution. And
the right to partake in any form of resolution, which is the will or opinion that is being brought on board. And then the remedy is that at annual general meetings, we always want shareholders to be present so that they can be able to vote on resolution, since it's part of their rights.
I accept that for 3 points. Next set of questions. Wesley girls, a local bakery in Kumasi increases the price of its special whole meal bread by 5%. Within 2 weeks, customers' purchases drop sharply by 9%, even though no new competitor has entered the market. The bread is considered a non-essential product for most customers, who easily switch to regular bread when the price rises. The bakery manager notices that revenue has fallen since the price increase. Now, your question here is, what type of elasticity or price elasticity of demand is shown? And should the bakery increase? In fact, just tell me what type of price elasticity of demand was shown in this scenario.
Is fairly elastic price elasticity.
Come again.
Fairly elastic price elasticity. Fairly elastic.
Say the answer fully.
Fairly elastic demand.
You see, you are saying two different things. Say the answer fully. And speak into the microphone.
Okay. Fairly price elastic.
You have a microphone over there. Use that one. Yes. That is correct. Do you hear the answer? You see why I want the microphone? Because it's only your school that will hear the answer. And I don't want protest that will come and say, he said unfairly, because they heard in. So speak into the microphone, please. If it's not working, look at it for her. It's very important.
Fairly price elasticity.
That is correct for 3 points. Presec, a fuel station in Cape Coast raises its price per liter slightly after global prices rise. Despite the increase, daily sales volume remained practically unchanged because most customers depend on fuel for commuting to work and have no immediate substitutes. The station manager observes that even when the price increases repeatedly during the month, quantity demanded barely shifts. Consumers continue buying almost the same amount due to necessity. What type of price elasticity of demand is shown in this scenario?
Okay, so it's a perfectly inelastic price elasticity of demand.
That is correct for 3 points. A premium tea brand launches in Accra, pricing its cup 20% higher than the market average. Surprisingly, a slight 2% reduction in price causes a disproportionately large 7% increase in demand from young professionals. Because the product is seen as a luxury good, customers respond strongly to even small price adjustments. The company notices that promotions can lead to very noticeable price rises. Now, what type of price elasticity of demand is shown in this scenario?
It is a fairly elastic price elasticity of demand.
That is correct for 3 points. Kumasi High School. A streaming platform increases monthly subscription fees by 10% across Ghana. Immediately, a large share of subscribers cancel and migrate to cheaper competing platforms, leading to a 25% drop in active users. Management realizes that several substitutes exist in the market, making customers highly sensitive to price changes. The company ends up losing total revenue despite the higher prices. So, what type of price elasticity of demand is shown in this scenario?
Fairly inelastic. Fairly inelastic.
I'm not accepting that.
Perfectly elastic.
No bonus in this round. Okay, so the demand is elastic. All right, it is elastic. It's not perfectly. Okay, do you know? Can you explain what perfectly elastic demand is? Because when you look at the scenario, it is elastic. All right, price increased by 10%, and then it caused a 25% increase. When we say something is perfectly elastic, that is not it. Okay, all right. Next set of questions. Sarah enters into a contract with her elderly aunt, who trusts her completely, to transfer a piece of family land to her. The aunt later feels uncomfortable about the agreement, suspecting that Sarah may have taken advantage of her trust to get a better deal. The aunt argues that she was pressured into the agreement due to Sarah's influence and now seeks to have the court set the contract aside. What defense might the aunt use to avoid this contract?
Please, the aunt should rescind the contract.
Come again.
Please, the aunt should rescind the contract.
Is that a final answer? I'm not accepting that. So, okay. So the answer here is undue influence. I said, what defense? I didn't say remedy. I said defense. Okay. Presec, listen to the question. A construction company enters into an agreement with a real estate developer and requires the developer to follow all necessary safety regulations to protect the environment during construction. However, the developer later discovers that the contract contains a clause allowing for certain environmental shortcuts. The construction company argues that adhering to the safety requirements would be unprofitable, but the developer insists the contract is illegal and should be enforced. Should not be enforced, sorry. I'm taking it again. A construction company enters into an agreement with a real estate developer that requires the developer to follow all necessary safety regulations to protect the environment during construction. However, the developer later discovers that the contract contains a clause allowing for certain environmental shortcuts. The construction company argues that adhering to the safety requirements would be unprofitable, but the developer insists the contract is illegal and should not be enforced. What type of contract defense is the developer likely referring to?
Environmental protection.
That is not correct. You have one other chance. Okay, so you've all forgotten contract defenses. I'll come to your answer later. Adonten, a small business owner enters into a contract with a large retail corporation. The contract terms allows the retail corporation to make unilateral decisions about product quality, deadlines, penalty, and the rest, while giving small business no option to negotiate or dispute any decision. The small business owner later realizes that this agreement is heavily biased and feels trapped by the terms, which seem patently unfair. What type of contract defense might apply to this scenario?
Fraudulent misrepresentation.
You have another chance.
Okay, so it is the fact that the large business, it is duress, undue influence.
That is not correct. Kumasi High School. David agrees to purchase a second-hand car from an individual who tells him that the car has never been in an accident and it's like new condition. After buying it, David finds evidence that the car had several repairs for previous.
Presentation.
Kindly let me learn next time, okay? All right, that is correct for 3 points. So yours was public policy, okay? And yours was unconscionability, right? So undue influence, public policy, unconscionability, and misrepresentation. And that, is that it? Last set of questions for this round. Wesley girls, Amma, a civil servant in Takrade, had a 10-year savings plan targeting a future business venture. 2 years into the plan, she was involved in a car accident that required expensive surgery and months of work. Her emergency wiped out nearly 60% of her investment balance because she had no insurance or contingency measures. The financial strain forced her to suspend her long-term goals unexpectedly. Now, you are to identify what kind of risk in this scenario. Okay. So because you didn't know the question, with the question in mind, all of you, this is the question. You are all to identify the risk, okay, so that it will be fair. So I'm read all of you identify the risk in the scenario. So your scenario again. Amma, a civil servant in Takra, they had a 10-year savings plan targeting a future business venture. 2 years into the plan, she was involved in a car accident that required expensive surgery, and she was off work for 2 months. Her emergency wiped out nearly 60% of her investment balance because she had no insurance or contingency measures. The financial strain forced her to suspend her long-term goals unexpectedly. What risk?
Which one? His life expectancy risk.
I'll accept that. Life event risk. Life event risk. Okay? Yes. I'll accept that. Presec. Mr. Ahen retired at age 60 with a lump sum pension and a modest personal investment portfolio. He planned withdrawals assuming a lifespan of about 20 years. But at age 82, he is still healthy and active. His funds are now nearly depleted, and medical costs are rising as he grows older. His financial advisor notices that his initial plan never accounted for the possibility that he will not die early. What kind of risk is faced here?
Longevity risk.
That is correct for 3 points. Adonten. Yao agreed to buy a parcel of land from a private seller. He discovered the seller had not completed the proper documentation and might not be able to transfer title. If the seller fails to regularize the documents, Yao risks losing his deposit and the land itself. The lawyer reviewing the case warns that the transaction is exposed to default on one side or the other. What type of risk is identified here?
Settlement risk.
That is correct for 3 points. And the last question for the round. The last question. A fintech company in Kumasi used a forecasting model to predict customer deposits and credit losses from its new mobile lending products. After 6 months, actual losses were almost double the projected figures because the model underestimated default rates and misclassified high-risk customers. The firm suffered significant financial strain and had to suspend further lending. An audit revealed that the assumptions behind the model were unrealistic and poorly stress-tested. What type of risk is identified here?
Operational risks.
You have one other chance.
Model risks.
Model risks is correct for 3 points. And that brings us to the end of round 2. Welcome back. So we are going to address some few protests and move on. Protest number 1 deals with when you are speaking and the bell rings. Okay, so this is how it works. If you are speaking and the bell rings, you are ordinarily allowed to complete what you are saying. So if you stop speaking, for example, I'm speaking and the bell rings and I stop, and then I come and continue. So how long do I wait for you? Because so in my mind, I should be thinking, okay, you are thinking about the answer, you are producing it. So if you are speaking and the bell ends, you should be speaking. In the process of speaking, when you end, you finished. When you stop speaking and then you wait for a while, it's like you are now thinking about it. You've been bailed out, okay? So that is it. If you are answering, right? If you are answering the question, you are giving a definition and the bell rings, I will not let you stop. However, if you have to give me 3 kinds and you give me total return swap, the bell has rung, total return swap, you are now, so that you've been bailed out. So that protest for you, you waited, you mentioned, all right, you were coming to give us another answer, true, but you were still contemplating whether the answer is correct or not, but you've been bailed out, and that was not the time to contemplate. So that protest will not be upheld, okay? All right. The next one is on... Okay, so it's on the currency risks and inflation risks. Yes, there's a clear difference between currency risks. Currency risks is the foreign exchange risks, okay? And inflation risks is the risks that relates to inflation. Now, the question I said is, there are 4 main components of market risk in your text. Now, because this is a business competition, you can open, when you open the competition to all other things, I can list about 20 risks that you've never heard before. And if I ask you questions that are not in your book, I'll not get to my house. Therefore, you should also give me answers that relate to what you've learned. So, in your text, they gave you 4 main, and the 4 main are interest rate risk, commodity risk, currency risk, and country risk. Inflation risk is not accepted. And so, that protest also will not be upheld. The next one. On the bonus, now round 1, I mentioned that when you answer wrongly in round 1, it's -1. Did I not mention that? Of course, so -1, okay? There's a school that believes that I didn't hit on it well, so -1 to the school that answered wrongly in round 1. Another one, there are a number of them. So please, if you didn't deduct somebody, deduct it for them. Now, there's a very important protest here. The difference between life event risk and life expectancy risk, okay? So the right answer is life event risk. But I accepted life expectancy risk. Let me tell you why. Now, if you use AI to explain, so whoever is using AI should text AI and tell them, differentiate between mutual and cross-purpose mistake. Differentiate. You see, AI will still differentiate even though they are the same thing because it's a training model, okay? It will force and give you a difference. So over here, yes, there's a line between life event. You see, that's why I gave you the right answer. The correct answer is life event, where something can occur and it will distort the person's investment plan. And there's life expectancy, where something can occur. However, life expectancy deals with the person's health, as in the person can die, the person can... So there's a line, there's a thin line, but I decided to accept it because in this particular case that I mentioned, it was an accident that occurred. And so it could be life expectancy risk or life event risk. And that's why I accepted that. And so it still stands for this. Yes, but there's a difference between life expectancy and life event. So duly noted. I think that'll be it. So so the new scores are in, right? And so for round 2, these are the scores. Wesley Girls Senior High School, 11 points. Presec Legon, 10 points. Adonten Senior High School, 11 points. Kumasi High School, 12 points. So at the end of round 2, the following are the scores. Wesley Girls, 29. Presec Legon, 27. Adonten, 25. Kumasi High, 28. We move on into round 3.
Species 30.
What I have here is what I'll mention until. So the contestants also are squeezed. You can keep the one for them somewhere. Maybe in future you can add it to the for them. All right, so we are going into the round 3, which is the simulation stage. Here, we are giving all schools the same amount, a dummy amount of money to trade. Okay? You'll be given a dummy amount. Hello? You'll be given a dummy amount to trade on the stock exchange as if you are trading live. Now, when you get a positive, the person who gets the highest positive gets 10. Then it trickles down. The person who gets the next positive, 7. And it goes on like that. However, if you get negative, okay, if you get a negative, you score 1. That is, you didn't get a profit on your trade, so you get 1. So with that in mind, we can 10, 8, 6, 4. All right, 10, 8, 6, 4. So that is it, first, second, third, and fourth. But that only stands when you have a positive return. Negative return gives you 1. All right, so that is it.
Okay, good afternoon. So this is our simulation round, and then this is what we are going to do first. We are all going to create an account using our school's name, right? So you do that now. So this is going to last for 15 minutes. You are going to trade for 15 minutes. And so the market is closed now. So the market is open now. You can start trading.
Let's give it up for all schools. All right, so you can review the scores now. Let's clap for all of them. They've done very well. Okay. So since the inception of this contest, this is the first time I've seen all schools getting positive. So they've done very well. Let's clap for them once again. This goes to show that we've been learning and we've been investing a lot of time into this. Okay, so as I always say, don't let it end here. Okay, keep practicing this. This can fetch you money. Because people are managing people's, listen to me, okay? People are managing people's portfolio and they're taking huge sums of dollars just for doing this thing. Okay, so it's not, you're not just playing, all right? So go and build your skills, master it, and then you can be using it as a side hustle to get a lot of money. All right, so from what we can see on the board, Presec Legon came first with a growth of 2.4%, and so they get 10 points. High School came second with a growth of 1.8%, so they get 8 points. Wesley Girls came third with a growth of 1.6%, and so they get 6 points. And Adonten also did very well. They came fourth, but with a growth of 1.4%, earning them 4 points. Okay, so 10, 8, 6, 4. Excellently done. Let's clap for all of them once again. And we can come for the laptops as we proceed into the next set of questions. Okay, the presentation phase. So let's take the laptops away. All right, as we prepare into the next round, let me hear from my contestants, beginning from high school. How do you feel entering into the next round?
I feel amazed.
I'm also amazed. Who are you? I didn't know you. You didn't begin right. Yeah, so your name?
I'm Ankwakwaku Benjamin.
Okay, all right. You are welcome. Okay, let me come to the next school. Yes, Adonten. How do you feel entering the next round? How do you feel?
Okay, it was very competitive, but it was also good because it's a form of learning.
All right, excellent. That's an excellent submission. Let's clap for them. Presec.
We are hoping for the best.
Okay. Wesley Girls.
Okay. Please, we are comforted by the fact that he who has begun a good work will see it to full completion.
Okay, let's clap for them also. Now, at the end of round 3, the following are the accumulated scores. Wesley Girls, 35. Presec Legon, 37. Adonten, 29. Kumasi High, 36. 35, 36, 37, 29. These are the scores as we enter round 4, the presentation stage. So here you've been given a case. You've read the case, you've prepared your slides. So you are to come here All right, you have 10 minutes. You can start.
Honorable Quizmaster, fellow contestants, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Tony Nanakwisi Abibio, proudly representing Kumasi High School, alongside our investment advisory team. But before I begin, let me ask you a question. How many of you have once checked your school fees and then quietly whispered, "Hey, Ghana"? Exactly. That is why today we are here to guide Mr. Wusu and his family to prevent such shocks by planning ahead. So let's dive in. Now, growing your wealth, nurturing your family. A financial plan for your children is the best way of building a legacy for the next generation. Honorable Quizmaster, please, with your permission and with all due respect, please allow us to use you as a representation of Mr. Wusu for our presentation. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Wusu and his wife are committing 4,000 Ghana cedis monthly in order to build an education fund for their two children, Kofi, Ama and Yao. Sorry. Isn't that thoughtful? Let's all clap for Mr. Wusu. Great. Now, with education costs rising, they need an investment plan that they can use to battle inflation. And this report offers a needs assessment and a balanced investment plan that they can use to guide their goal or their growth. Next. But before that, let's look at our client's profile. Our clients' names are Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. Their children are Ama and Yao. They are 6 and 3 years, respectively. Mr. Owusu is a senior technician. Mrs. Owusu is a basic school teacher. They reside in Cape Coast. Their aim is to build an education fund, and their challenge is how to beat inflation rates of education cost. Now, with the needs assessment and why a long-term investment plan is necessary, A, rising education cost. Ladies and gentlemen, education cost globally and in Ghana is rising much higher than general inflation. And now this trend is due to increasing tuition fees, administrative charges, accommodative cost, and the growing preference for private schools and quality tertiary institutions. Now, education inflation in Ghana averages 8 to 15% annually, much higher than bank savings rate, that is 6%. And due to this, it is likely that school fees will double or triple within the next 10 years, especially for senior high school and university. The time horizon of 10 years. Now, a 10-year time horizon simply means that the Owusu family intend to build an education fund gradually over a full decade before the money is needed for their children's senior high school and university education. And then with a long-term capital appreciation, this simply means an increase in the value of an investment over a long period of time. And it usually deals with growth instead of quick profits. Now, with the suitable investment options for a 10-year horizon, we recommended the Balance Fund. Now, the Balance Fund is a blend of equities and the fixed income funds for safety and growth. We also recommended the Equity Fund. Now, the Equity Fund invests solely in stocks of listed companies for a long term in order to aid capital appreciation. And we also recommended the Government Bond. Now, the Government Bond invests in government long-term debt instruments with fixed returns. And with the Dollar Fund, it invests in dollar-dominated assets in order to bring about stability and protection against local currency fluctuation. Now, you can call me a seasoned data analyst for this segment. With a diversification strategy, it comprises of the asset class, allocation, monthly amount in Ghana cedis, and then the purpose. So with the Balance Fund, we allocated 40%, that is 1,600 Ghana cedis, and this is for investing or seeking middle growth and safety. And with the Equity Fund, we allocated 30%, that is 1,200 Ghana cedis, for high growth to meet inflation in the near future or in the long run. And with the Government Bonds, we allocated 20%, that is 800 Ghana cedis, for safety and growth. And with the Dollar Fund, we allocated 10%, that is 400 Ghana cedis, to hedge against cedi depreciation. And with the risk management recommendation, we recommended diversification. Now, what is diversification? What is diversification? Now, it is simply the spreading of your investment options in order to reduce risk. That is why if you paid attention, you'd realize that in our previous slides, we allocated percentages of the monthly 4,000 Ghana cedis to the equity funds, the balanced mutual funds, the dollar funds, and the government bonds, respectively. And now, with the portfolio rebalancing, it simply means that you are selling some of the stocks that have grown too much to buy those that are falling behind in order to restore your target proportion. And now, we recommended building an emergency fund so that in case the Owusu family meets any unforeseen circumstance, they can withdraw any amount of money to cater for that unforeseen circumstance. And then we did that because the emergency fund has a high liquidity ratio. So with this, I'll pass the mantle on to another seasoned investment analyst.
So we were also to ensure a projected growth of the realistic Ghana capital markets. And with this projected growth, we were to use the compound interest formula or the annuity formula, which deals with the future value is equal to the present value times 1 plus R, all in brackets, raised to an exponent of n minus 1 all over R. This is also known as the annuity formula. And with this, the future and the present value is 4,000 Ghana cedis. And then the rate is a recurring decimal of 0.00667. And n is equal to 120 years, 120 months. It was initially 12 years, and with this, you have to convert the 12 years into months, which is 120. So if you are to insert all this into the formula, we are going to get 760,000 and 850,000 respectively. And then we get a negative returns of 90,000 Ghana cedis. Now, using financial calculators, you are going to get an absolute value. So you will ignore the negative sign attached to the 90,000 Ghana cedis. We also, to ensure consistency of the couples, and ensuring consistency, we were to use the systematic investment plan, which involves investing at regular intervals, a fixed amount. It can either be monthly or weekly. And we also use the current trend of the payment system, which is the top-rated security, powered by AI and machine learning, purposely to ensure that the couple's accounts are being debited regularly. So I also like to, and then also avoiding emotional decisions, I would like to give the microphone back to the seasoned investment analyst to give a conclusion about this.
Okay, so for every solution, there was a problem. And for every problem to be solved, there is a solution. We have given Mr. Owusu and his family that solution. Now, with the Owusu family story, it reminds us that education cost in Ghana, it doesn't wait for anyone. But with a clear 10-year plan, disciplined monthly investing, and the right mix of assets, their dreams of giving their children, Ama and Yao, quality education become achievable. Because after all, ladies and gentlemen, if you fail to plan, then you have planned to fail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful. Next presentation from Wesley Girls. Let's clap for them.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blessing Chaba, and I'm here with Esther Charlotte Apia Debra. We are from the Wesley Girls High School Investment Advisory Team. Each one of you here is an educated person because your parents were willing to invest into your education. Today, we present to you Mr. and Mrs. Owusu, a young couple and a parent of a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old children. Of a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old children. Yeah. They have a stable job of as a senior technician and a basic school teacher. Also, they are concerned with the rising cost of education since they want their children to have good education. Okay. Yeah, the next one. Okay. So let's look at the client's portfolio. The name is Mr. and Mrs. Owusu, and as I said earlier, they are a young couple. Their occupation is a senior technician and a basic school teacher. The current type of investment is monthly savings, and their monthly savings is 4,000 Ghana cedis. Also, they have a financial goal of funding their children's education. Meanwhile, they have a risk level which is low, and their expected timeline is 10 years. Yeah, the next one. So we identified some problems from this case. The first one is rising education cost. We all know that in Ghana here, year by year, education rises. The second one is low returns on savings. We all know that when you invest your money in savings, it does not really grow that much. Inflation impact. We know that inflation has an impact of reducing the purchasing power of your money, and also it reduces the value of your investment. The next one is uncertainty of future expenses. Thus, they are unaware of some expenses that they might meet in the future. And the last but not the least is risk of not meeting future goals. They are not really sure if they can meet the goals that they want to attain. Now, we looked at some assessment of the needs of this couple. The first one is financial goal. They want to fund their children's education. The second one is time period, which is 10 years, sorry. The inflation on education is 8 to 15%. And they have a monthly savings of 4,000 Ghana cedis. Whereas their current interest on savings is 6% with a low risk tolerance. We found some further needs for this couple, as it is said in a local dialect that Enamdudo and Senkwanpa. So the first one is stress-free pension. So this is to ensure that in as much as they want their children to get some standard of education, they should still enjoy some kind of financial freedom when they get old. The second one is unforeseen medical bills. They might face some medical issues, so there should be funds that they will be able to use it to cater for these medical issues. The last one is exigencies. These are uncertain expenses that might occur. So they have to make sure that they get the money in order to cater for these expenses. So we happen to find some investment options for them. And the first one is investing in companies listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. The second one is fixed income securities such as government bonds. The third one is dollar savings in case of CD depreciation. We all know that our CD is a very stubborn one. It does not want to stay at one place. And the last but not the least is the contingency fund in case of any emergency in the future. We all know that inflation has become a citizen in our country and elsewhere. So we have to find a way to beat this inflation, else it beats us. So the first one is using some real positive returns. And this means that when you have, in order to defeat an 8 to 15% inflation, you must have investments that yield more than 15%. And the first one is equities. When you invest into equities, no matter how high inflation is going, your equities is also going to be growing. The second one is the power of compound interest. By reinvesting all dividends and interest, the WUSU can earn interest on their interest. And the last one is the US dollar, thus investing in the US dollars. So my fellow colleague is going to continue with the presentation.
Thank you very much. Please listen up. There's a French saying that says, il ne faut pas tout se mettre dans un panier, which means one must not put all her eggs in one basket. This is the reason why we chose diversification as our main strategic goal and plan for Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. So first, we chose that they should invest across stocks, government bonds, US dollar investment, and emergency fund. For stocks, we see that stocks provide a long-term sustainability when investing in them. And mathematicians calculating with me will notice that 50% allocation of the 4,000 Ghana cedis is going to make sure that we invest 2,000 into that. For government bonds, investing 20% will mean we are investing 800 Ghana cedis because they have low risk and they ensure fixed return. For US dollar investment, see, the CD behaves anyhow it wants. So when it decides to depreciate or fluctuate, the US dollar is going to serve as a way in which the couple can stay safe. In terms of emergency fund, do you remember that accidents do happen? It could be a motor accident, a sudden heart attack, or even a stroke. For this reason, they are to safeguard themselves against any form of emergency, because emergency funds or contingency funds have high liquidity. Let's move on. Okay. So here, why not diversify your stocks as well? You can diversify in MTN. It can be seen that 70+% of Ghanaians use MTN. So since its patronage is high, then investing in this will be very lucrative. Fan milk is a consumer good, and I'm sure almost all of us here like fan milk. So investing in this is going to ensure that they receive the returns that they want on their investments. Goil is a very diversified energy company, and its patronage is high. Hence, they are to invest in Goil in order to ensure that their financial goals are met. We are moving on to look at some of laddering bonds. Okay, so laddering bonds can basically mean, in a low man's term, as diversifying bonds. So with this, you invest in bonds such as treasury bills, commercial paper, corporate bonds. So treasury bills are government bonds. Commercial paper here is short-term investment in corporate companies. And corporate bonds here will serve as long-term investment in corporate companies. Now, let's look at certain risk management strategies. Okay, so we spoke about the contingency fund to prevent them from eating into their investments on the education. Currency risk, yes, invest in the US dollar to safeguard yourself against the CD. Interest rates, so ladder bonds to make sure that you are safeguarded against the interest rates in the market when they fluctuate. Of course, my favorite, diversification. We can also speak about rebalancing and periodic reviews, because without rebalancing and without periodic reviews, it's like having a girlfriend and not checking up on her. Someone will eventually take her away from you. Professional help. With a professional, we'll see that they'll be able to guide the couple on how to manage their investments. Now, let's look at the next thing here. Projected growth. Welcome to 10 years later. In 10 years later, this is how the investment might perform. Stocks might increase at a 15% rate, giving us 506,945. Bonds can increase at a 6% rate. US dollars can increase at a 3% rate. And contingency funds will increase at a 2% rate. So the table there basically shows how the investments they are going to venture into will perform in the long run. Now let's look at final advice. What did we advise our couple on? So the first thing we advised them on was to set up automatic transfers, because in terms of at the end of the month when their salary comes, they might say, oh, sikanaba, so yenkodi. But with this, the money is not going to go into their pocket. It's going to go directly into the investments that they have ventured into. So with this, it deters them from not being disciplined and following the strategic plan that they have set. Please, do you understand? Okay, we are moving on to review and adjust annually. Like I said, you do not want to lose your investments, like you do not want to lose your girlfriend. So make sure that you monitor and make sure that you adjust. Now, the next thing is focus in a long-term goal. Avoid emotionality and sentimentality when investing, because it can cause you to make certain unadvisable and unsecure actions, such as loss aversion, withdrawing your income because you're afraid that you're going to lose a lot. And then now we are moving on to conclusion. We see here that Mr. and Mrs. Owusu, at the end of their life journey, are looking very happy because they've been able to advise themselves, they followed the plan that we set for them, they stayed consistent, and hence they have not only been able to achieve their goal of providing their children's education, but also securing a better future for themselves. Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you all.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for them. They've been doing very well. We'll take the next presentation from Adonten Senior High School.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are Adonten investors, and today's client is a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. Mr. and Mrs. Owusu, parents of 2 children, Ama and Yao, want to secure their children's future education. They have decided to save 4,000 Ghana cedis monthly and invest in long-term securities that can beat inflation and also provide steady support their children throughout their school till the university. Previously, they kept their savings in a current account, earning only 6% interest, which is too low for their long-term education goals. Their banker later suggested they invest in a fixed deposit account, but this option also offers returns that are still insufficient for the couple's long-term objectives. This is just a brief story about Mr. and Mrs. Owusu.
All right, so moving on, we all can attest to the fact that it was a very prudent decision that Mr. and Mrs. Owusu made by planning their children's education ahead of time. Since they want to do this via investment, there was a need for our team to come up and verify whether they will need a short-term investment plan or a long-term investment plan. Based on certain criteria, our team concluded that these 2 visionary couples will need a long-term investment plan. Also, based on these criteria, the first criteria we are going to look at is the current age of their children. As we speak, Ama, their firstborn, is 6 years old and is estimated to enter the senior high school in the next 7 to 8 years to come. Also, it was estimated that Ama would be in the tertiary institution in the next 12 years. Moving on, Yao, on the second hand, which is their second son, is currently 3 years old and is estimated to be in the senior high school in the next 12 years. This shows that these couples need a well-strategic long-term investment plan and not just a short-term fixed deposit. Also, we consider the education inflation rate in Ghana. Currently, education inflation rate is estimated to be around 8% and is also expected to rise to 15%. The clear indication of this is that in the near 10 years to come, school fees of senior high schools and tertiary institutions will increase by doubling or even tripling. Mr. and Mrs. Owusu, being concerned, are willing to set aside 4,000 Ghana cedis every single month to make their dream come into a reality. Fast forward, we move on to the suitable options that will create this long-term investment plan. First, we look at emergency fund. An emergency fund is very essential for every single investor who seeks to reap the benefits of their long-term investment without liquidating it in times of financial distress. To create this emergency fund, we recommended a 91 days tree bills, which is issued by the government of Ghana and takes only 91 days to mature, making it a very suitable option to create this emergency fund. Also, we considered equity. Now, why we are considering equity over here is because it provides our clients with an interest rate ranging from 25% to 30%, outpacing inflation, because currently, as we speak, inflation rate in Ghana is 8%. So this is going to outpace inflation, giving long-term growth. Also, we consider the government bonds. When you talk of government bonds, these are long-dated debt securities issued by the government of Ghana and have a maturity period ranging from 5 years to 30 years. Also, last but not the least, we consider the dollar investment. Now, when we talk about dollar investment, we simply mean investing in financial securities that where transactions are normally based on the USD dollar. So what this actually does is because the USD is actually accepted worldwide, it makes it highly liquid and also protects the cedi depreciation.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the wise saying goes, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Also, Nobel laureate, a popular economist, said diversification is the only free lunch in investing. Where am I heading towards to? Yes, I'm heading towards diversification. Over here, we have a diversification strategy for the 4,000 Ghana cedis monthly contribution of our clients, Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. First of all, I'm going to talk about the emergency fund. For the emergency fund, it involves an investor creating a fund in order to cater for emergencies or contingencies. Here, we decided to allocate 5% of the 4,000 Ghana cedis to this emergency fund, giving us an amount of 200 Ghana cedis. The main motive for we investing in the emergency fund is that it guarantees our clients safety and it is also highly liquid. Secondly, we are going to talk about equity. What are equities? It involves investing into shares and stocks of companies. Here, the investor is guaranteed dividends and also capital gains. Also here, we decided to allocate 40% of the 4,000 Ghana cedis to the equities, giving us a total amount of 1,600 Ghana cedis. Now, the main motive for we investing in equities is that it provides long-term growth and also outpaces inflation. Thirdly, we consider the government bonds. What are government bonds? When we talk about government bonds, these are fixed income debt securities issued by the government of a country. So over here, we allocated 35% of the 4,000 Ghana cedis you're able to set aside to these government bonds, giving us a total amount of 1,400 Ghana cedis. Here also, the motive for we investing in the government bond is that it guarantees steady income and it's also predictable. Lastly, we looked at a Eurobond fund. What is Eurobond fund? Eurobond fund involves investing into funds or Eurobonds, which is not issued in your own domestic currency, but in the currency of foreign countries. So over here, we allocated 20% of the 4,000 Ghana cedis to these Eurobond funds, giving us an amount of 800 Ghana cedis. Now, the main purpose for we investing in the Eurobond is that it protects against steady depreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't just leave our clients there. Now, we gave them certain recommendations and risk management strategies in order to help them through their investment journey. Firstly, we advise them to diversify their assets across various classes. This helps them reduce risk and also price fluctuations. Also, it's going to protect their funds during market downturns and economic depressions. Now, we also advise them on dollar hedging. One may ask, what is dollar hedging? This is a risk strategy which is created by an investor in order to cater for the valuation of the US dollar. Yeah. So over here, the main reason why we recommended the dollar hedging is that it reduces long-term devaluation of the cedi. Ladies and gentlemen, lastly, we recommended the annual portfolio review. As an investor, you don't just have to invest and leave your money there. No, that's very bad. But rather, you have to monitor your portfolio regularly in order to keep your risk and returns in check.
So this is the projected growth using realistic Ghana market returns. Now the investment option, which is the emergency fund, equity fund, government bond, and euro bond. Now the estimated values in the next 10 years is going to be, so the emergency fund having a value of 6,814.61 Ghana cedis, the equity fund having a value of 178,813.93 Ghana cedis, and the government bond having a value of 67,965.37 Ghana cedis, and finally the euro bond having 20,725.68 Ghana cedis. Now we accumulated all to get the value of 274,318.93 Ghana cedis, whose value is greater than that of savings, that is 85,960.69. Now, the reason why the value of the portfolio is greater than that of savings is that the value of savings has been eroded as a result of inflation. That's the reason why we recommend the portfolio rather than savings. Now, we are going to advise our couples to stay consistent by automating 400 monthly contribution by using standing order payments. Now here, when the couples receive their income, you are going to set aside standing order to pay 4,000 into the investment. We are going to advise our couples to fall on emergency fund in case of unforeseen financial distress or unexpected happenings, so as to indemnify them to their initial position. We are going to advise them to track their progress quarterly using apps like Data Bank, Stanbic Bank, Fidelity, and EDC. Also, we are going to advise them to increase their monthly contribution as their income increases. Finally, we will advise our couples to make an annual review with an advisor in order to adjust their portfolio based on market conditions and school cost projections.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude by saying that by investing 4,000 Ghana cedis into a diversified portfolio designed for growth, currency protection, and stability, Mr. and Mrs. Owusu can build an education fund that beats inflation, grows steadily over 10 years, provides enough funds for SHS and university education, and finally ensures financial peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, our final presentation from the Presbyterian boys. Let's clap for them as they join us on stage.
From stress to success. Good evening, judges. Ladies and gentlemen, We are the investment advisory team from the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, Legon. Today, we are not just here to talk about numbers. We are here to give a lifeline of a Ghanaian dream. That is of Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. And this project is called Project Legacy. Okay, meet Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. Meet Mr. and Mrs. Owusu. They have 2 children, Mr. Amma of 6 years of age and Yao 3 years of age. He is a technician and she's also a teacher. They have a dream like each and every other parent. They want to give their children the best education as possible. So with that, they've made up their mind to set aside 4,000 Ghana cedis each and every month to make this happen. But there is a thief in their house, and this thief is called inflation. They have a savings account which yields 6% annually. But education inflation is sprinting at 8 to 15% annually, as you can see on the board. And when we talk about education inflation, we are talking about the rising cost of stationeries, the rising cost of fees, and the rising cost of accommodation related to education. We can also make mention of when you are moving from one stage of education to the other. For example, moving from the basic school to the senior high school. We can all testify to the fact that the cost incurred in the basic school is not the same cost that you incur in the senior high school. So they came to us for advice. So let's move on. With the savings account yielding 6% every year and the education inflation sprinting at 8 to 15%, we can all see that education inflation is being represented over here by a rocket and the savings account by a young seedling. As you can see, by all means, the rockets will move faster than the seed. Over there, and placing them on a balance, you can see that the education inflation will outweigh the savings account. So their banker recommended a fixed deposit account for them. But in the banking sector, a fixed deposit account is like a parking slot, but we need a highway. And with their savings account, it's just like they are running a treadmill, working tirelessly, sweating, but they are going nowhere. So they came to us for advice. Where do we invest? In dollar or in cedi? How do we beat inflation? Our needs assessments are clear. We need to move from savings to investing. We need a vehicle that leverages on the power of compounding interest and aggressive growth. I am Mensa Roland, your investment professional, by the way. So I'll give it to another professional to give more light on it.
All right. So, in order to solve their problem, we are not going to use complex jargons, but rather a philosophy that every Ghanaian understands, which is football. You can't win a football match with 11 goalkeepers, right? So we need a defense, the goalkeeper, the midfielders, and the attackers to score against inflation. So this is where we deploy our strategy called the 4-3-3 push formation. With this, we are going to allocate 45% to equities. And we did this because strong companies such as banks and telcos have been able to consistently outpace inflation over the past couple of years. And we are going to allocate 25% to treasury bills because they are risk-free government financial instruments, and these will hold the line, serving as our defense even when the market crashes. And also, we are going to allocate 20% into corporate bonds, which control the tempo of our investments, serving as our midfield because they provide consistent incomes of 18 to 22%. And also, we are going to allocate 10% into a USD hedge fund, serving as our goalkeeper. Next slide. So the couple came to us asking if they should invest their money in Ghana cedis or USD dollar because they don't trust how stable the Ghana cedi is. But our answer is both. Right here in Ghana. We don't need to send our money offshore, but we need it here to promote the financial economy. And we are going to do this by investing 10% into a Ghana-based USD hedge fund provided by the likes of Stanbic and Data Bank. And if they stick to the plan, over the next 120 months, they are going to have a principal of 480,000 Ghana cedis. And using conservative historical market return, we are projecting they are going to get between 900,000 Ghana cedis and 1.1 million Ghana cedis if they follow the rules. And this is not luck. This is smart. And it is harnessing the power of compounding interest. Next slide.
And we all know how even the best strategies fail without discipline, right? So they came to us asking us how they are going to stay disciplined. And our answer is, our first recommendation was automation. And we are going to do this by setting a standing order. And this transfers money from their bank account to their investment account, even before they have time to spend it on a wedding or a party. And also, we are going to rebalance the portfolio. And this, we are going to check the portfolio annually and sell stocks, which are the strikers, if they perform too well, and buy more defense. And tell you, we are going to diversify across different sectors. So we are summing up our roadmap to legacy in 3 simple steps. So day 1, you open a CSD account and a USD fund. And the CSD account is the investment account, and the USD fund is the dollar-based account. And in month 2, you activate a standing order. So this simply automatically transfers money from your account to your investment account. And finally, you wait for the 10 years and harvest the fund for your university tuition. So, next slide. So with this, Mr. and Mrs. Owusu will be able to cater for Ames medical school tuition and also Yao's engineering school tuition. And not only that, but also teach them the best financial advice, which is patience and strategy pays off. And as a wise artist once said, financial freedom is the only hope. Avoid trying to live rich and die broke. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is any school effecting a substitution? Okay, so kindly do so. Thank you for joining us, Eric. Let's clap for him as he leaves the stage. All right. High school. Okay, so you are a substitute. Your name?
Isiakun Shadrach.
Okay, Shadrach, you're welcome. May I know your name?
I'm by the name Mensa Roland.
Mensa Roland, you're welcome. Lady, your name?
Wagba Elinam Yao. Wagba Elinam Yao.
Elinam, you're welcome. Okay, so in the order in which they presented, so my general comments, right? I am very much interested in what you become after, like the impact, more than the scores you get, okay? Because you see, the thing you just did, right? If you learn and you master it, that's who you become, okay? Don't be more interested in the marks and then forget, because who knows? I didn't know I'll be here when I was doing quizzes and competitions elsewhere, right? So all these skills that you are learning, accumulate them, Presec Legon, accumulate them, right? And then invest in them, and the future it will take you far, okay? All right, high school, you did very well. So what we needed you to do is to give us the needs assessment. Identify the various needs. If you're able to identify the needs, three of the needs, you get 1 each. That is 3. If you're able to tell us the suitable long-term investment options, identify 3 of them, you get 3. Diversification strategy. If you give us how you should mix the equity, fixed income, those things, you explain the percentages logically and the diversification, how it will benefit him, you get 4. So the mix will give you 2, the explanation 1, diversification 1, right? The risk management recommendations you give. If you give a good recommendation, even 1, you get 2 marks, okay? And then the growth expectations. So if you're able to give us the growth expectations, how you expect the growth to be, all the numbers you were mentioning, if that's accurate, you get 1. And your final advice and your stage, everything gives you 1. So out of that, you get 15, okay? So for Kumasi High, you were able to give us the needs, okay? You were able to give us 3, so that gives you 3 marks. You were able to give us the long-term investment option. You were able to give us more than 3, so you get 3 over there. You were able to give us the diversification strategy, the percentages and all that, so you get 4. You were able to give us R raised to the power n, all that minus 1. The minus 1 is not at the top there, and that is why you were getting negative figures, okay? So next time, check those things. All right, so that is it. Let's clap for them. They've done very well. Wesley girls, you were able to give us you were able to identify the needs. You get 3 over there. You were able to give us the long-term goals, the long-term investment options. So you get 3 over there. You're able to give us the diversification strategy, the percentages and all that. You get 4 over there, the risk. You're able to give us the recommendation. So 2. The growth. You're able to give us the growth expectation. You explained the invest long-term, all of that, inflation and all that. You get 2. And your French and the things that you were saying. So you get 1. So that is 15 out of 15. Now, the reason why they are scoring full marks is because we are not focusing a lot on their mannerism, their present. We are marking technical stuff, right? And so if you're able to give us all the technicalities, you are good to go. And that is why. Okay, all right. So we go to Adonten. So Adonten, my comment, general comment for you and for Wesley girls is going for work on your slides, okay? Work on how the slides look like. Because if you are presenting, we don't have everything in caps. Okay, if you have everything in caps, it means you are shouting at your audience. There are some things you have to learn about that, okay? So going forward, you work on that. Your needs, you were able to identify all of that. So 3, the long term, 3, all of those things, you were able to identify all that. So you get 15 out of 15. Presec Legon, I'll commend you for a very excellent slide. I liked your slide display, very nice slide. All right, so I'll give you 2 because of you were able to identify the compounding effect of inflation, but next time, check the question and answer it, okay? Or else next time, you may be penalized. And the final advice gives you 1, so you also get 15 out of 15. All right, so I will commend all of you. I mean, when I was in high school, I couldn't present like this, okay? So this is a very important skill you've developed. So going forward, master it. It's very important because you can make money from it. Don't let the quiz, don't let it end here. I mean, okay, we are going into the next round, the true or false segment. Okay. Now, I'll be reading statements to contestants. You are to tell me if the statement is true or false. If you get it correct, you score 2 points. If you get it wrong, you suffer a penalty of -1. You may decide not to answer, in which case it passes to the other schools as bonus, whereby those schools would have to wait to be called upon and deliver the answer. And the risk, the higher the risk, the higher the return. The risk over here is the same, and so the reward is the same. If you get it correct, you get 2. If you get it wrong, -1. So before you take risk, all right. Okay. True or false? Can we test the bells? Wesley girls. Okay. Kumasi High. Adonten. Presec. Okay. Wesley girls. During the expansion phase of the business cycle, unemployment is typically non-existent. True or false? Cancelled.
False.
Now, this is the last time I'm doing this. Okay, I'm being very nice. Ordinarily, I would have moved to the next school. I don't care which school caused the problem. So I'm going to give you another question. Be praying that nobody does that thing again, or else you'll be penalized. Okay. So this question is cancelled. Your question. A recession begins in the contraction phase when GDP growth turns negative, and it often leads to increased unemployment and a decline in the stock market values. True or false?
True.
That is correct for 3. Sorry, 2. Right. Presec. The peak or trough stage in the business cycle is when the economy has hit its lowest point before beginning to expand again. True or false?
False.
That is correct for 2 points. Adonten. Increased numbers of bankruptcies and rising consumer debts are typical characteristics of the trough stage. True or false?
True.
That is correct. Kumasi High School. In the contraction phase, A decrease in consumer demand leads to higher inventories and a drop in GDP. True or false?
False.
That is not correct. Next set of questions. Still in economics. Wesley girls, when the market price is set above the equilibrium level, the quantity demanded will exceed the quantity supplied, creating a shortage. True or false? You've been bailed out. Bonus. Presec.
False statement.
That is correct for 2 points. Presec, your major question. Is there a problem? Is your bell not working?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Presec, a demand curve that shows quantity demanded changing when slightly. I'm taking it again. A demand curve that shows quantity demanded changing even slightly when price changes cannot be classified as perfectly inelastic. True or false?
True.
That is correct. Adonten, if two goods have a positive cross elasticity of demand, it means when an increase in the price of one, it means that, okay, so if two goods have a positive cross elasticity of demand, it means that an increase in the price of one reduces the demand for the other. True or false?
False.
That is correct. Kumasi High. Goods with an income elasticity of demand between 0 and 1 are considered necessities because their demand rises when income. Their demand rises with income, but at a lower proportionate rate. True or false? Regardless of market volatility. True or false?
True.
That is not correct. A stop loss order, okay, I understand how you are thinking. So it will trigger at that price. But when market is very volatile, you've set it at 2,000. But by the time it will trigger, and if the market is very volatile, it will move to, let's say, 3,000 by the time it sells, okay? So it's not always true. So it's a false statement. Okay. Presec, investors should buy stock during a bear market only if they expect long-term growth potentials because prices are generally falling. True or false?
False.
That is not correct.
The champion is there.
Adonten, selling shares during a bull market is always disadvantageous. Selling shares during a bull market is always disadvantageous because prices will continue rising indefinitely. True or false?
False.
That is correct. Kumasi High School. The decision to buy or sell a stock should rely solely on short-term price movement without considering the overall market trend in fundamental analysis. True or false?
False.
That is correct. Next set of questions. Wesley girls, when interest rates fall, borrowers benefit from lower costs, but investors in fixed income assets may face reduced return. True or false? I heard you, but I didn't hear you.
True.
That is correct for 2 points. Presec, rising interest rates always strengthens a country's currency while completely eliminating inflationary pressures. True or false?
It's a false.
He was bailed out. One. Okay, wait. So next time, wait for it to be declared a bonus. Okay? All right. Wesley girls.
False.
That is correct. Adonten. An increase in central bank interest rates always benefits bank because higher interest rates automatically increase lending activities. True or false?
False.
That is correct. Kumasi High. Falling interest rates benefit borrowers only, while having no clear impact on banks' balance sheet or investor behavior. True or false?
False.
That is correct. Next set of questions, and I believe this will be the last set. Last set of questions. Okay. A project with a positive NPV is always risk-free and guaranteed to increase the firm's wealth. True or false?
True. True.
That is not correct. Presec. The internal rate of return of a project exceeds the cost of capital. If the internal rate of a project exceeds the cost of capital, the project should generally be accepted regardless of the scale or duration of the project.
False.
That is correct. Adonten. The payback period considers the time value of money when determining whether or not to accept the project. True or false?
True.
That is not correct. Payback. It is the adjusted or the discounted payback period that uses inflation. The normal payback doesn't consider inflation. Kumasi High. Accounting rate of return is based on accounting profit rather than actual cash flow, so it may overstate a company's or a project's attractiveness. True or false?
False.
That is not correct. And that brings us to the end of round 5A. Let's go into round 5B. That is the riddles segment. It will be decided in this round. Okay, so the riddle segment. So I'm going to give you 4 riddles, 5 riddles. Okay, each riddle has 5 clues. If you answer correctly on the first clue, you get 5 points. If you answer correctly on the second clue, you get 4 points. If you answer correctly on the third or any other clue thereafter, you get 3 points. Now, if you answer at any point and your answer is wrong, you are exempted from participation in that particular riddle. And I'll keep on reading the clues for the benefit of the other schools, okay? So I'll test the bells the last time. Kumasi High School. Adonten. Presec. And then Wesley Girls. Okay. May the best team win. Riddle number 1. If you're able to get it on the first clue, I always promise money. So, if we get any riddle on the first clue, 100 cedis. Cash, not check. Okay. 1. I arose in the early 21st century when the environmental concerns began shaping global investment behavior. 2. My creation was driven by institutions seeking to fund. Relax. Presec.
ESG invest.
I'm not accepting that. I'm continuing. My creation was driven by institutions seeking to fund climate-friendly projects without altering traditional debt structures. 3, I direct capital towards renewable energy, pollution reduction, and sustainable infrastructure. 4, my legitimacy often depends on Kumasi High School.
Green bond.
That is correct for 3 points. Now, it's not ESG investing because this is a debt instrument, so bond, green bonds. Okay. Next riddle. One. I trace my roots to English contract law. First of all, I didn't call you. Second, wrong. If I give him like -20. So that is not correct. A good attempt. I continue. 1. Oh, okay. Sorry. Wesley girls. We can't hear you. I want them to hear you so that.
Is the Bill of Exchange Act.
No. Let's clap for 2 schools as they are out. Okay, so Presec and Adonten. For you. I trace my route to English contract law, developing the agreement under fundamental misunderstanding. 2. My application became important in cases where someone signed a document believing it to be something entirely different. 3. I operate as a defense, allowing a party to avoid liability under a contract where they truly never intended to sign. 4. Courts apply me narrowly, often requiring proof that the signer was not negligent and the mistake was radical. And Adonten Senior High School.
Non-ex factum.
That is correct for 3 points. Okay, next riddle. This one is very simple, straightforward. Okay, first clue. I came into global attention after 2008, though the ideas underlying my Adonten.
You are commercial papers.
Please, I'm not a paper. I continue. Though the ideas underlying my design trace back to earlier cryptographic research. 2. My purpose was initially tied to creating a digital currency that did not require a central authority. 3. Look at me, don't look at them. 3. I functioned by storing information in linked tamper-resistant blocks that are validated through consensus mechanisms. 4. My structure makes me transparent, secure, and extremely difficult to alter once data is recorded. And 5. Wesley girls.
Blockchain.
I didn't hear you. They can't hear you.
Blockchain.
That is correct for 3 points. Blockchain is correct for 3 points. Now the final riddle. Okay, this is not the final. My apologies, okay? 1. I first appeared in early discussions of portfolio theory in the mid-20th century. I'm taking it again because I couldn't hear myself. I first appeared in early discussions of portfolio theory in the mid-20th century, especially as scholars try to understand why some investors outperform others. 2, I became more prominent than the rise of active fund investment, where measuring performance relative to benchmark became essential. Adonten.
You are alpha.
I am indeed alpha. Correct for 4 points.
What I say.
And the final riddle, the very final one. So you are welcome to NIQ 2025. The winner of this contest qualifies for the semi-finals. We need 2 winners for 2 slots in the semi-final contest. Will it be Wesley Girls, Presec, Adonten, or Kumasi High School? This last riddle can determine the winner. It's very important we pay attention. Riddle, clue number 1. This one, get it on the first clue, okay? I became mainstream in the early 2010s as digital platforms created new ways for people to raise small funds of Wesley Girls.
Fintech.
They can't hear you.
Fintech.
Is it correct? That is not correct. I continue.
2010.
Did anybody ring? Created with new ways for people to raise small amounts of money from large groups of people. Hey, my 100 cedis. Wait, relax. Yes, Adonten.
Okay, so you are crowdfunding platforms.
Hey, what did you say?
You are crowdfunding platforms.
That is correct for 5 points. And that brings us to the end of So you are welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adonten. Okay. So this brings us to the end of the contest. Can I have some silence, please? Can I have some silence? So that was on the first clue. I have not read the second clue. So that is 5 points. So this is NIQ. It's organized by the Young Investors Network in partnership with the Ghana Stock Exchange. Hello, Adonten, you get minus something right now. Organized by the Ghana Stock Exchange, the Central Securities Depository, and APSA Bank. The winner of this contest, or the first 2 schools, qualify automatically into the semi-finals. The other 2 schools would have to meet us next year. Which 2 schools are winning? Let me hear from my contestant before I declare the scores. You don't know, maybe something. Don't worry, don't give up hope. Keep praying. Okay? All right. Kumasi High. How was the contest? Your overall view on the contest?
It is well.
It is well. It is well. It's like, okay, Adonten.
Okay, so God was still at work and patience move mountains.
Presec.
It was a stepping stone onto greater heights.
And Ellie Nam. I want to hear from Ellie Nam. I like her posture. I want to hear from you, Ellie Nam. Okay. So no matter the outcome of this contest, okay, you are still very excellent. You've done very well and be proud of yourselves, all right? Because I've also lost on national stages and you feel like crying, really. So I understand all the emotions. But this is not the end of the world. There are more opportunities elsewhere that you can pursue. At the end of round 4, the following are the scores. Round 4, after the presentation, the following are the accumulated scores. Wesley Girls, 50, 50. Presec, 52. Adonten, 44. Kumasi High School, 51. So, will this change? As it stands now, Presec is leading. Kumasi High is second. Wesley Girls is third. Adonten is last. Will this change after the final results? So what I'm hearing is okay. The scores are here. Finally, for round 5, the following are the scores. Oh, wow. Say wow. For round 5, the scores for round 5 alone. There are a lot of forces at work here, so please have some patience. Okay, the following are the scores, pending any adjustment after, because they are still open for protest, okay? So the following are the scores for round 5, pending any adjustment. For round 5 alone, for round 5, both A and B combined, these are the scores. Wesley Girls, 7. Presec, 7. Adonten, 19. Kumasi High, 7. So 7, 7, 7, 19. Now, at the end of the contest, the following are the scores. Pronounce these scores. So let me begin from Wesley Girls. Wesley Girls scored 57. 5-7. Presec, 59. Kumasi High, 58. 56, 57. At the end of the contest, hello, please let us close. Adonten, please control your crowd for us. Thank you very much. So at the end of the contest, by this course so presented, we have 2 schools qualifying to the semi-final stage. We have Adonten qualifying with 63 points. And Presec Legon qualifying with 59 points. So by this course, thank you all for joining us for the second quarterfinal contest. I'll see you in the semifinals. Bye bye from me.
Thank you so much to our quizmaster.
Nothing was expected. Indeed, nothing was actually expected. A very big thank you to all. Remember that nobody is a loser here. Thank you all for joining us for the very first day quarterfinals for the NIQ 2025. Proudly sponsored by the Young Investors Network, the Ghana Stock Exchange, the Central Security Depository, and the Absa Bank Ghana. And we are streaming live on the High School TV plug. Thank you so much.